Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. If you're an American, I hope you had a great 4th of July weekend. If you're not an American, I hope you still had a great weekend. You're enjoying the World Cup. I'm enjoying the World Cup, not much of a soccer fan, but when the World Cup's on and it's in America, I gotta enjoy it, so hopefully you guys are enjoying it too. But listen, in the UK, Kier Starmer, the Prime Minister, announced his resignation a couple days ago, and as you can tell by my channel name, It's Okay to Be Conservative, I'm conservative. So I'm not really a fan of Kier Starmer or any of the politics in the UK or in Europe. A big reason why is the immigration. I think politicians in Europe, especially the UK, are ruining their countries with immigration. They're ruining the countries, the states, the villages, everything. Their culture, they're ruining it. Their religion, they're doing a terrible job with immigration, nothing to be said. How many stories are we seeing every single week of citizens being assaulted by illegal immigrants? How many stories are we seeing where illegal immigrants are getting prioritized when it comes to welfare, healthcare, over actual citizens? I think it's absolute travesty what these politicians are doing. If you disagree, I apologize. Hopefully you can stick around. I promise I'm a good person. Also, I just think they're doing a terrible job with free speech, restricting their citizens. I don't think they're doing a good enough job for allowing their citizens to voice their opinion. I think it's a joke, an embarrassment over there. Just how it is. And we look at the prime ministers since 2010. I just was thinking, like, they recycle through prime ministers quite a lot, which can't be that good for a major country like England, the UK. Okay, you're looking at since 2010, we had 1, David Cameron, 2, Theresa May, 3, Boris Johnson, 4, Liz Truss, 5, Rishi Sunak, and then 6, Kier Starmer. Since 2010 in America, we had Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Barack Obama. That's it, that's 3. So the UK had twice as many. Obviously, presidents, prime ministers, they had about the same amount of power, I guess you could say. All right, there's not really president in the UK, I guess not. But obviously, Kier Starmer's the leader of the UK, just like Donald Trump's the leader of the United States. Now, I'm all for recycling through new political candidates, getting new ideas. I like that. But when you have such a high turnover at prime minister at the top for a major country like the UK, I don't think it's really the best idea, right? We had Liz Truss, September 6th to October 25th. How's that good for a country? Recycling through this. Rishi Sunak, only there for 2 years. Boris Johnson, only there for 3 years. Theresa May, only there for 3 years. David Cameron, only there for 6 years. Now, I don't know much about David Cameron. Was he good enough for the UK? Was he a good prime minister? Was a lot accomplished? Did they progress the country? I don't know. You tell me in the comments. But I just, don't think it's a good idea to recycle and have all this turnover in a major country at the top. When it comes to representatives, mayors, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I prefer that. But at the top, I think you got to stay for at least 4 or 5 years to really make a difference. I don't know. Anyway, we're reacting to a video today. Why the UK can't keep a prime minister. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Let's get right into it.
The question my party is asking now is whether I am
so apparently he had a lot of calls for resignation. Every president
that is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party.
Gets called for
Sir Kier
that
Starmer
from
was
the opposite
supposed to be
party.
the poster child of moderate, stable UK politics. After the turmoil of COVID, Brexit and 5 different Conservative prime ministers, Starmer's Labour Party won the 2024 election by a landslide, with a promise to bring stability to the country.
Change begins now.
Yet now, just 2 years into his tenure, he's announced his resignation, opening the door for the 6th Prime Minister the UK has had in just 7 years, with nominations for a new leader opening on July 9th.
That's tough.
Starmer's biggest problem was his communication style. He was a very dry, wooden speaker, he spoke from scripts, and that left him extremely vulnerable in an era of popular...
I just feel like
So
he was
what
terrible
went
at
wrong
damage
with
control
Starmer? And who
too.
could be the next UK Prime Minister?
Starmer really promised to bring a period of normalcy back to the UK. Britain had cycled through numerous prime ministers since Brexit, and Starmer was saying that he could bring a bit of calm back to British politics, which would then allow for the country to be better governed.
This depends upon politicians, particularly those who stand for stability and moderation, as I do.
That calm ultimately lasted just a matter of weeks.
Starmer came under fire for receiving tens of thousands of dollars worth of free gifts, including clothing for his wife, soccer tickets, Taylor Swift tickets, and over $3,000 worth of glasses, much of which he ended up paying back.
The optics were immediately bad because Starmer had come in promising a new era of seriousness in British politics, but here he was having his glasses and his suits paid for by a donor, so immediately the public were put off by that.
But one of Starmer's biggest missteps came from his decision to appoint Peter Mandelson as the UK ambassador to the US, only to fire him 9 months into the job over his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
I should not have appointed Peter Mandelson. I take responsibility for that decision.
You
and I
think, though,
apologise
like,
again
he
to the
had to
victims
know.
of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who were clearly failed by my decision.
For months, Starmer had insisted that Mandelson had been vetted and cleared by UK security vetting, or UKSV. However, it then emerged that Mandelson had in fact failed the vetting process, but was approved for the job anyway.
Starmer then found himself in a situation where he had to try and explain that he had been duped by the civil service he was supposed to be competently running, and so raised questions as to whether he really was an effective leader.
If I had known before he took up his post that UKSV recommendation was that developed vetting clearance should be denied, I would not have gone ahead with the appointment.
So the succession of scandals slowly eroded this image that Starmer tried to present, that he was a competent, clean politician.
These scandals were made worse by the fact that Starmer had failed to substantially grow the UK economy, and had even raised business taxes.
Ultimately, there is a cost of living crisis in the UK, and people's bills have gone up, and real wages are flatlining.
Yeah, let me pause this quick. See, the cost of living, I feel like, is a problem across the whole world. But when you have a cost of living problem and you decide to just prioritize illegal immigrants, people who aren't citizens of a country, you're gonna get a lot of people mad. Just how it is. When you're using money, public money, taxpayer money, for a lot of illegal immigrant welfare, you're gonna get a lot of people mad. A lot of citizens of the UK, people who were born and raised in the UK, you're gonna get a lot of people mad.
Feeling the pinch.
Then there were policy U-turns on everything from national ID cards to inheritance tax on farmers.
Starmer said that he was a serious politician.
Farmers are so
He would make tough
disrespected
decisions.
in
Things
countries.
will get worse before they get better.
One of the first things he did was say that he was going to remove a fuel subsidy for pensioners. Now, this immediately caused a huge backlash within the party and immediately eroded Starmer's popularity with the wider public.
In the end, Starmer made a long, protracted U-turn, but the damage was done.
Ultimately, that U-turn really eroded his standing with the British public and also raised questions about his leadership style.
On the global stage, Starmer initially seemed to be one of the few politicians who could actually charm President Trump.
Trump and Starmer struck up an unlikely bromance.
We all know the great Prime Minister of the UK, and we just signed a document. This is, sorry about that. This is it.
That's not a good
Very
look for Trump.
important document.
Despite having diametrically opposed political views, they actually got on.
That's all right.
well.
I see stuff like
They got
that.
involved
It's
over
a
the
mistake,
years,
not a big deal. You drop
spoke
papers. Who cares?
repeatedly criticized the UK.
I think he's a nice man, but I disagree with him on two things primarily.
I know,
Immigration,
too, a
his
beautiful
immigration
country
policy is
that
a disaster,
doing the same
and
thing.
his energy policy.
But even the other day, when Trump announced that Starmer was going to quit, before Starmer himself had announced this, he said he wished the Labour leader well, which I think speaks volumes for their
I
relationship.
remember he made that
One of the final
announcement.
nails
All
in the
the
coffin
news
of
was
Trump's
like,
premiership
no
was the
proof,
Labour
no
Party's
evidence.
disastrous results
Day
in local
later,
elections
he
in
ends
May.
up announcing it.
Your party, Prime Minister.
The vote became a litmus test for Starmer's fitness to remain in office, and his party suffered badly, losing around 1,500 councillors, Labour's worst result in decades, and ceding ground to anti-immigration party Reform.
Let me be clear, these are really tough results. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
For the first time since the Second World War, we're seeing a party that's not Labour or the Conservatives leading in the poll. Reform UK, which is led by Nigel Farage, is running on an anti-immigration ticket. And that
Farage, I
resonates with a lot
like.
of people in the UK.
Just from what I'm seeing on social media, I have to learn more about him.
And yet what Reform are able to do is to win in areas that have always been conservative, but equally, we're proving in a big way we can win in areas that Labour have dominated.
Starmer tried to counter that by moving to the right and announcing stricter anti-immigration policies, but that actually had the perverse effect of
Too
pushing
late.
many people on the left of the party to leave, and they have gone to the populist Green Party on the left. So Starmer found himself fighting a battle on two fronts.
Shortly after the results of the local elections came in, more than
The
90
UK
of Starmer's
needs a
lawmakers
politician
called on
who's
him to
strict
quit,
on immigration.
including his health
Every
secretary,
country
Wes
does. I'm
Streeting,
sorry.
who resigned from cabinet.
And that is really when the game was up for Kier Starmer.
Despite setbacks, Starmer did actually make headway on some of his manifesto pledges.
Starmer did bring some normalcy back to British politics. He did make some strategic decisions which did pay off, but the pace of change simply wasn't fast enough, and his political capital eroded too quickly.
Now the UK enters yet another period of political uncertainty, with nominations for a new Labour leader, who would automatically become Prime Minister, set to open on July 9.
The current thinking is that there's only one horse in this
July
race.
9th, that's
Andy
what,
Burnham,
this
former
week?
Manchester
Yeah.
Mayor.
So help me God.
But there is a question of legitimacy here, whether Burnham can really take control of the world's fifth largest economy with very little scrutiny of what he intends to do or how he intends to do it.
Yeah, so like the journalist mentioned, what was it, fifth largest economy? I thought it was bigger than that, but anyway, when you have all this high turnover, it's just not a good look. You have instability. You don't have a good structure, I feel like. You need at least 4 or 5 years for such a big position. In the United States, I'm big on term limits. I think 10 terms for a U.S. representative, which would be 10 No, 5 terms. I'm sorry, 5 terms for a U.S. representative, which would be 10 years, and then 2 terms for a U.S. senator, which would be 12 years. For a president, I think 2 years is perfect. Or I'm sorry, 2 terms is perfect, which is 8 years. You can't ask for a U.S. representative to serve for 2 years. It's hard to get stuff done. It takes a bit. Okay, that's why I'm a bit fair with it. I think 5 terms, which is 10 years for U.S. representative, is perfect. You don't need these politicians being in their 80s and the 90s, which the U.S. unfortunately has. Politicians in their 90s. Not a good look for us at all. Now, obviously, that's not what we're really experiencing here in the UK. We're basically having the opposite. High turnover. Just not a good look, like I said. But my main focus, though, what I'm saying in the beginning, the UK needs to figure out their immigration situation. People shouldn't be arriving on boats and then just showing up and living and getting protection and welfare in the UK off the taxpayer dime. It's just wrong. I don't know why anybody could defend that. And I feel like the UK and Europe promotes it. They just allow it. They want them there. They sign to have 400,000, 500,000 immigrants to just become legal citizens in one signature. Why? Because they want to say, oh, because of work, they need more workers. I don't know. I just don't think it's the right way to do it. I think they're destroying their country, like I said, destroying their culture. I don't know. Why is it always European countries, too, that has to accept all these millions of immigrants, not the other way around? I don't know. I'm not anti-immigration. I'm anti-illegal immigration, and I think they have it a whole mess over in Europe. But, didn't really answer why the UK can't keep a prime minister. This video really didn't. It just explained who Kier Starmer was and why he left, but it didn't really explain why they can't keep a prime minister. It didn't really touch on the past prime minister, so not a big fan of really the video, but it is what it is. I voiced my opinion. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down your thoughts below. If you liked it or didn't like it, I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys. I appreciate you watching. I'm out. Peace.